welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We are really excited today to be recapping two of last weekend's movies for Hallmark Channel. And we're talking about the latest Godwinks movie, Godwinks Miracle of Love, I think is what it's called. And then also A Royal Queen's Christmas. And since we're talking royal, we had to have one of our biggest royal fans, one of our favorite Hallmark writers. We have Teri Wilson here. Teri, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks so much. I'm excited. I always loved analyzing the royal movies, so I was really excited to do this.
Yeah, well, I immediately thought of you because we had you last year for the royal movie, and it was so much fun. And this year, it just seemed we got to have you on, and you had actually kind of a royal book that you had published through Hallmark Publishing this year, correct?
I did. I actually happen to have it right here. Which actually coincidence. I was not planning on this. Once Upon a Royal Summer.
Yay.
Hallmark Publishing. It's about a theme park princess who meets a real life prince when he comes to her theme park to bring his daughter for her birthday.
I think that's such a cute idea. I have not had a chance to read it yet, which is terrible. I should, but everybody I know who's read it has really enjoyed it. So yeah, I need to get on that, but it's a really cute idea.
Oh, thanks. I'm actually working on a Christmas book for Hallmark right now. Will come out next Christmas of 2022, called Once Upon a Royal Christmas, and it has a very similar theme. I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but it's similar.
Oh, fun.
So, yeah, of course it's a Christmas.
Yeah. Well, and then you had Christmas Charms last Christmas book.
Yes, I had Christmas Charms about a magic charm bracelet where all the charms on the heroine's bracelet start coming true one by one magically at Christmas time. And it's actually out right now in Walmart as a Walmart exclusive mass market paperback. So
nice.
Excited about that.
And then in the fall you had A Spot of Trouble.
Yes, yeah, and I don't have that one right here with me. Yes, it's not with Hallmark. It's with Sourcebooks Casablanca, but everything I write is pretty much in that vein. So it's very Hallmarky, and it is a 101 Dalmatians inspired romantic comedy.
I love that because I love Roger and Anita. I think they're like the underrated Disney couple.
Right? They are. It's basically, I take their meet cute in 101 Dalmatians and kind of like take off from there, turn it into a rom-com. It starts out where, the heroine thinks the hero is kidnapping her dog. It's really a different Dalmatian. So, I love that movie so much, and I love that scene that I've always just wanted to do something, with it. And so it was really fun to get to work on.
Yeah. One of my favorite Disney movies. So I'm with you there. Yeah, we'll have a Dalmatian plantation where our population can roam.
That's right. And actually, okay, so you'll appreciate this. That book, I called it, when I wrote it, I called it The Dalmatian Flirtation, which I
that's
thought
cute.
was the cutest name ever. But my publisher wanted to change the title for reasons. So, they weren't any controversial reasons. They were just like, we don't want the dog breed in the title, but I still wish it, in my mind, it's still called The Dalmatian Flirtation. Yeah. All through that book, I do wordplay kind of like that. Like I have Dalmatian confrontation, Dalmatian population. I'm a lover of bad puns. So that was my favorite part of writing that book, was the wordplay.
Yeah. And according to your website, you have a book coming out in August, A Line in the Sand.
Yeah, and it's in the same series as A Spot of Trouble. It takes place at the same small beach town and is a dog-centric, rom-com. For anyone who follows me on social media, I post a lot of pictures of my puppy Charm, my Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. And I wrote that book right when I first got her. And so there's a mischievous Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, because the heroine in that book is the mermaid at the local aquarium, and her dog comes to work with her dressed as a lobster, and it's named Ursula.
My gosh, that's so cute.
A mermaid and an Ursula puppy, and then the new marine biologist to town, is the hero in that book. They butt heads at the beginning, and so that was another really fun book to write.
Oh, it looks really cute. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Splash.
Yeah, yes. That I kind of wanted splash vibes for the cover because it definitely has a mermaid theme. Being that she's the town mermaid, and I mean, in the beginning, he's like, "Why do we even have a mermaid? That's like scientifically inaccurate." But I know that keeps coming back to haunt him for the rest of the book.
That's really cute. I'm excited for that.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Well, so we have a Royal Queen's Christmas, and I have to admit, I think I might have given this a cold. Like, it did not look very promising to me in as far as in the previews and everything. And I do love Cinderella and I love princess stories, but we get a little overkill sometimes for Hallmark that sometimes I'm not the most excited about them. But this one ended up being a big surprise to me. It was way better than I expected. And it's the summary. A prince finds his way to Queens during Christmas when a local woman enlists his help with a children's Christmas show. So what were your overall thoughts of A Royal Queen's Christmas?
I kind of had the same feeling that you did because, I mean, I love the royal movies. I watch all of them, like across all the channels. But because there are so many and I do watch a lot, sometimes they tend to all feel the same. I want something different. I'm always interested in how is this different than than all the other royal movies out there. And so at first I just wasn't sure how that was going to come to pass, before I started watching it. But I really enjoyed it a lot. I really liked the hero in this movie, the actor who played the hero. I mean, I think they definitely need to put him in some more Hallmark movies. He was the perfect prince. I just loved him. And it did have some of the similar themes that we see in a lot of other royal stories. He was supposed to be in an arranged marriage that he didn't want, and neither did the Duchess he was supposed to marry. But I loved how he fit so seamlessly into her family life in Queens. And I loved that his executive assistant, or whoever that stuffy man was, he called him an executive assistant once. I'm not sure exactly what his formal title was.
He was kind of like his valet almost.
Yeah. And I thought it was funny he called him sire instead of sir, but okay. I thought that through the movie, you could see that he was appreciating that the prince was fitting so seamlessly into that life. I think that it really made him seem less immature because at the beginning they kept calling him a man-child, that kind of a thing. So I don't know. I just really liked it.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I guess this Julian Morris, I guess he was on Pretty Little Liars is where he's famous from, I guess.
Did not realize that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I have never seen Pretty Little Liars, but yeah, he was he played a guy named Ren Kingston, I think is the name, on Pretty Little Liars. And he was also he was Prince Philip on Once Upon a Time.
Oh, okay. That's where I've seen him. Yeah, that's why he's so regal. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. He was a find. He was great. Yeah. I thought he was so charming and they had really good chemistry. Mm-hmm. And I mean, maybe Megan Parks, she belongs in princess movies because I think that this was really good. And I think that her Once Upon a Prince, I think is what it was called, was one of
based on the book by my friend Rachel Houck.
I think that was one of the better. Yeah, I like the book, and I think that was one of the better princess movies that they've done. Was Once Upon a Prince.
Agreed, and I really feel like she seemed like a completely different character in this movie.
Yeah.
On a Prince. She was really good in both of them, but seemed completely different. Because at first I was wondering why they were putting someone in there who had already been in another princess movie, but I liked her in this. And you're right, they had great chemistry. I liked her no nonsense way of talking to him. I think that he liked it too. I didn't really understand. I mean, her whole family had like really strong Queen's accents, because that's where the movie took place. And she really didn't. So I thought that was a little odd. I mean, because at first I was like, maybe they should have picked someone else who actually seemed like they might belong to this family, because she didn't look like her family and really didn't talk like her family. But after 15 or 20 minutes, I was buying into it because I thought she did a really good job with the character.
Yeah, I agree. I did notice the accent a little bit, and you could definitely nitpick this movie, but overall it just, I thought it was very successful in doing what it was trying to do and telling this kind of story. And they had really good chemistry. And I think I even said that in the previews, this will come down to chemistry, and they had great chemistry. It was just palpable when they were together.
Yeah. And the end, which I don't know if we want to give that away, but the end we could probably all see coming a mile away, because they talked about this specific tradition in the movie. But still, I mean, I got teary-eyed at the end when it happened. I got
the Christmas tree.
And I was like, oh, with their matching piano ornaments.
Yeah.
I just loved it.
That was cute. Yeah. Megan Park actually this year, she had something very different from Hallmark, where at South by Southwest Film Festival, she premiered her own film that she wrote and directed called The Fallout, which is all about the aftermath of a school shooting. So it's very not Hallmark, but it was excellent and extremely well done. And I'm kind of surprised, honestly, that it hasn't gotten the awards push, because I thought it was one of the best festival movies that I saw all year. So she's very extremely talented young lady, and I've enjoyed her in her Hallmark work as well. But if people are looking for something different that's well done, I think they should check out that. She's not in it; she just wrote and directed it, which is pretty cool.
That's cool, though. I'm gonna have to check that out. I didn't know about that. Was South by Southwest? Yeah,
it was the South by Southwest. I'm not sure what the somebody was telling me that it's on a streaming service, but I'm not sure which one. But anyway, keep an eye out for it. It was actually an excellent film. It is rated R, but it was really good. So anyway, but yeah, she's very talented, and I thought it was nice to see her relationship with her cousin, right? That she works in the shop with. That was a fun dynamic. And of course they have the meet cute with them kind of crashing into each other and him destroying the pastries.
Yeah. But okay, so one of the things I really liked about this, because last year when I was on this podcast, we were talking about One Royal Holiday, which is still one of my top royal movies of all time. It
was so good. Yeah.
Loved that movie. But it was really interesting how, the two princes are so different, because what was so funny about One Royal Holiday is he was so used to being a prince, like he flinched when he was trying to ride the front seat of the car, and he was asking for a pillow menu at the end, and this prince was different in that, he seemed a lot more like, I don't know, he was just so endearing to me. And even though he was clueless, like he didn't even know how to wash a dish when he was washing the dishes with her, but then the next morning, he's lying on the couch and he's looking out the window and he sees her dad. The dad has a sprained wrist or whatever, and the dad was out there trying to shovel snow with his sprained wrist, and the next scene you see him out there shoveling snow for the dad, and then when she sees him, it's just, he was so willing to pitch in and do everything, even though he was, and like when he went down in the elevator to chase the heroine and his shirt was mismatched, he was wearing like really nice like Prince clothes, but his shirt was mismatched and he had on hotel slippers. He just had a vulnerability and such an endearing quality to him. I thought that he was fantastic.
Yeah, he was really good and just charming. I mean, both of them were. I really, and it did kind of remind me of in Once Upon a Prince, because the prince in that movie, he like is gardening. Like, I love when he's like angry gardening and his mom's like, "Oh, you're not happy with me." That was really good.
Yeah, I mean, well, and they just went so well together. You know, like him with a more, the prince from this movie, Royal Queen's Christmas, wouldn't have gone as well with like the Lacey Chabert character and her.
Right. Yeah.
But they would have both been, I think, too sentimental. I don't know, but her, no nonsense with, matched with him so perfectly. Yeah. And I love that she was a veteran. I was like, this is amazing. We have a veteran in a royal movie. This is fantastic. I mean, I loved that about her.
Yeah. And they were both kind of insecure in the same ways about like what they didn't really know what to do with their lives. And when she gives him the advice of, well, you've only got one life. It's important. You're the one in charge of it. And he's like, nobody's ever said that to me in my life. That was good. That's good.
Oh, and I do have to take a shout out for his previous dog, Maximilian, when she was asking him, what's the best gift he's ever had.
It was that was cute.
Puppy. I love it when there's a Cavalier in a Hallmark movie, even if it's just by reference.
Yeah, that was cute. That's really cute. And I liked when she's talking with her cousin, and she says that maybe he just wanted you to get to know the real him, and knew that you wouldn't accept him if you knew. And she's like, yeah, which you absolutely just did. You didn't, you proved him right because you rejected him as soon as you knew. And so I thought that was a whole good conversation.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'll never not like the trope where someone finds out that they've accidentally fallen for a prince. They had no idea he was a prince. And then when they find out, it's like literally the worst news they've ever heard in their lives. I mean, I never get tired of that ever.
Yeah.
I do have to say that like the longer it goes on, the longer the secret goes on, the more I get why someone, would be upset about it. Because, when it's just after the meet cute and then they find out, they're like, oh, awkward, he's a prince. But, once you've been hanging out with someone all day, every day for days, all back to the Lacey Chabert. I forget what the name of her royal movie is. It's older. It's one of my favorites, though. Royal Christmas or something. I don't remember.
Princess something. Yeah.
Seymour is the queen.
Yeah.
Like a tailor. But on that one, apparently she and her boyfriend had been dating forever, like a year, and then she didn't know that he was a prince. And she gets much less upset about it. Well, I mean, she's upset at first, but she's not mad like this heroine was.
Yeah, and actually the director of this movie, Lee Friedlander, she did another royal movie, Royally Ever After, with Fiona Gubelman, and that was like right after the royal wedding, like the weekend after.
Yes.
Yeah, and they were so smart because they had like promo stuff of the the Duchess of Meghan from her Hallmark days that they like used in promotion of the. I was like, that was very smart.
Well, I remember that. Yeah, because because they led into the Royally Ever After, which I really like that movie. I mean, I like all the royals. Right before that, they played, Meghan's movies, Meghan's Hallmark.
Right. Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah. So I was like, I was loving it. It's my Royal Super Bowl week,
Yeah. It really was. But that one, she finds out that she's been dating the prince all this time, and then they go together to try to impress his family. So they're a couple the whole movie, which was refreshing and different. But yeah, Lee Friedlander, she's a really fun director, and I could see she brought a lot, to this movie, and they definitely bordered on cliche and caricature a little bit with the whole Queens kind of thing, like. But I don't know, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Too. I mean, that's one of the things that made it really different, and I really liked that. But yes, it might have been a little cliche, and hopefully people from Queens didn't find it offensive. But I mean, I really liked that part. It made me want to go to Queens.
Like, I liked her dad. He was funny.
Loved her dad. Yeah. All the food, it seemed really, I really liked it.
Yeah. All the food designer who was ever in food props in this movie did a great job. All the food looked delicious.
Yes. And I forget, like, back to his manservant or valet or whoever that was.
Yeah.
There's one part
Whitby.
Yeah, Whitby. Whitby's on the phone with the prince, and the prince is describing to him like what lasagna is. It was like, it sounds rustic. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I feel bad for them if they live in a kingdom where there's no lasagna. There was one scene that I thought was really funny because, the prince, he's, at the beginning, obviously we've said he doesn't want to tell her that he's a prince. So when she asks what his last name is, he says Saint Bernard, because Saint Bernard is randomly walking through the hotel lobby at that moment. But then, and we never see the Saint Bernard again, like before, or I was just like, oh, there's a Saint Bernard for half a second. But then later he's talking to Whitby and he's like, do you realize I don't have a surname? And I'm like, okay, come on. Like, he's in his mid-30s. I think he would have considered this by now.
Yeah. Well, and I also liked that they didn't make too big a deal of like how some of these, they make it too big of a deal of how like tortured they are. It's like, I can't live my own life, kind of thing. And I was kind of like, you're a prince. Sorry, I don't feel that sorry for you.
I know, as someone who
he was more grounded. He was, he wasn't complaining too much.
No. And as someone who writes royal romance and has discussed that with my Hallmark editor specifically, even though, all the characters have an arc and they all have a problem they need to overcome. And sure, he's like maybe having to do an arranged marriage or whatever. Still, you want to approach it from the fact that these are still people with a life of tremendous privilege. So you don't want to lean too heavily into that. And I think that they did a good balance of that last night.
Yeah. I also liked that the fake.
I watched.
I like that I like the fake country was called Exeter.
Yes.
Because usually there's some like Novia.
Right.
Some version of Genovia.
And the Princess Diaries, we all do the Ovia. And I think we've just done them all now.
Exeter was different. It was refreshing.
It sounded like a private school. I think there might be a private school named Exeter, but that was
like
kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought it was funny that Whitby, he's like living it up at the hotel there. He's like getting champagne and
but when he had to ride the subway, that was hilarious.
That was really funny. And I had to laugh because this last trip that I took to New York City, I tried to navigate the subway to Queens actually to visit a friend of mine, and I got totally lost. And because I had it all planned out, but then there was a closing at one of the stops that I was supposed to take. And so then we ended up at someplace totally different. I'm like, I don't know. So I gave up and got an Uber.
But those scenes that like showed Whitby on the subway and him living it up at the hotel, eating the fancy meal and all that. One of the things I liked about that was the prince was the one like really embracing being a regular person, and Whitby was the one who really kind of enjoyed the trap of royalty more than the prince did. And I thought that was a really clever way of making the prince more endearing. He more down to earth by comparing him to his employee is like really into the trappings and the wealth of that lifestyle. He was still a good guy though, Whitby. I mean,
he was good. And I liked when they're like forcing him to eat forcing the prince to eat the cannolis. And he's like, ooh, these are delicious.
Yeah, he was into the cannolis.
That was funny.
Cannoli, they're delicious.
I know. I feel like they're never. I mean, I feel like I haven't found a really good cannoli yet, because the ones I've had weren't like, they look better than they actually taste. But I need to find, I think, the right cannoli maker. I don't think I have here in Utah. Maybe it doesn't exist here in Utah. But maybe next time I come to New York, I need to try cannoli. But yeah, I thought that was really funny. And I mean, I kind of feel like with the whole choir thing that like they're kind of supposed to be sort of boring. Like it's all just about the kids. They're cute, like cute kids. Yes. You don't go to like a children's choir performance. Most of the people in the audience are related to
right.
And so, his idea of like, well, It's you're doing it boring, and then he has this like fancy piano play. I was like, that doesn't really fit with like children's choir, but nevertheless.
I mean, because it did kind of take the focus off the children, and
right.
it's amazing, like Liberace style Christmas Carol music, which he did sound fantastic. He was a really good piano player. But yeah, I was having the same thoughts. I was like, well, this kind of isn't, the kids aren't doing anything different. They're still singing while he has his 10-minute piano solo.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you're kind of missing the whole point of this activity here. But yeah, he finds out that they have this like snowman building competition after the first big snow of the year, which I thought was a cute set piece. He gets to help out her dad shoveling snow, and he gets to build a snowman for the first time. That was fun.
Yeah, and they go look at Christmas windows, which is always a fun, New York activity. And they go to this one bar or pub or restaurant where there's a million like ornaments hanging. Oh yeah. And they apparently leave it up all year. I'm really interested to know if that's a real thing in Queens. That would be really cool.
I think I've seen it in other Hallmark movies before. I swear I've seen that place. I think it's a Vancouver place. But I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't think this movie was really filmed in Queens. I think
it wasn't. It probably was not. Yeah, and of course they have the tree. I'm always interested in the Christmas traditions because I mean Hallmark does so many Christmas movies, right? And as someone who's trying to write for them, who writes for them, it's hard coming up with unusual, different things that you haven't seen. Like the cookie decorating, which we see in every other Hallmark movie, which is great. I love cookie decorating, but it's fun to see the different things. I liked the snowman contest. I liked the wishing Christmas tree where you're supposed to hang your ornament on the tree and close your eyes and you open them and your true love or whatever is supposed to be in front of you. And I always, I liked the new ones. Those were some perfect looking snowmen though. I mean, it probably snows in Utah, right? It doesn't snow that much where I live. So I'm like, is that really what snowmen look like? Because I don't think I could do them that well.
Well, and you have to have a lot of snow to make a snowman. And certainly ones those big, you would need a lot of like multiple feet of snow. You really do. So this was actually filmed in Toronto, not Vancouver. Okay. So I guess that I swear I've seen it in other Hallmark movies, that same bar before. But yeah, that's a fun set piece place to be hanging out at. And yeah, the snowman building competition, Whippy going down the subway. That was hilarious. I thought it was interesting having Zoe be a character and having been engaged for 2 years. Like that's kind of a little bit different character than you see in most Hallmark movies.
Right. And then that was like a side plot. And her fiance was super sweet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was interesting hearing her say why, she'd been engaged for 2 years. And, I think she was just kind of afraid to go through with the actual wedding. But of course, that gets resolved. But
yeah, so she said she's afraid of losing spark, that basically becoming an old married couple kind of thing. And I don't know, that's just a very unusual, like you wouldn't normally have characters living together in a Hallmark movie. So that was different. And they have these, as you said, they both have these Lucky Charm piano ornaments that are special to them. And that was really sweet.
Got their piano ornament from a grandparent who had given them. Yes, they both got them the same way. And they both had these piano ornaments. It was really sweet.
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot. And yeah, they go shopping together. There's this big like potluck that they participate in where they wish on the tree. And they have like a near kiss. And he says, more I should do, more I should be. Like he's feeling all this pressure. And and then they go to the ornament. I called it the ornament restaurant.
Yeah.
and that's when Adriana shows up with his parents' surprise visit.
And his fiance or unofficial fiance Duchess.
Yeah. But it wasn't like emotional cheating because they weren't actually a couple, which I appreciate.
Like a business arrangement. And she even told him that she didn't want to be engaged, that she didn't want to marry him either. But then in the very next scene, his parents were like, well, you're marrying her no matter what. And I was like, doesn't someone need to tell his parents that she doesn't want to get married either? Like, no one did. But I was waiting. I was like, oh, someone, someone tell them that she's not into it either. But of course, we knew it wasn't going to happen.
Well, and Whitby tries to warn him that the parents are coming, but it ends up being, he thinks it's just a pocket text. And so he just ignores it. but yeah. And she gets him a keyboard scarf for Christmas, which is cute.
Scarf.
Yeah, it was really cute.
Thing with the piano keys, and I think he was just about to kiss her again in that scene that's when his parents walk in with the Duchess, and
yeah, and they have, I think it might be under mistletoe, I can't remember, but he kisses her on the cheek, which I always think is so sweet.
Yes,
that was really good. And so then he sees his parents, and in the big reveal. And so she gets pretty huffy, which is normally something I hate, when they're like, how could you lie to me? Because when you're doing a fake fiance story, I think it's actually absolutely essential that nobody takes it that seriously. Because if one person is like, how could you lie to me? It ruins the fun of it, because it's such a ridiculous story that you can't have anybody taking it too seriously, or it just becomes not fun. And so that she was a little sulky for me in this this thing, but it came around and it worked, she says, he's a prince, I'm not a princess. And he says, you and your family treated me like a regular person. And he says, I've made a commitment to you and to the kids. And she says, well, is it commitment? Is that all this is to you? And I'm like, well, of course that's all. Like, he made a commitment. Like, it's only been a week. What do you expect?
She was being pretty hard on him. I mean, she knew that he had feelings for her. He had kind of made that clear, Again, I've been married for 25 years. And if my husband came home tomorrow and said, I've been keeping a secret, I am the Prince of Flavonia, I would be not mad in the slightest. I mean, I'd get on board, Maybe
that's what we need to do is make this, like, make one of these movies, but they've been married for like 20 years.
Yes, I would write that.
Yeah, you should. I mean, I think Royal Hearts got close to it with them finding out that they were royalty, and then James Brolin all of a sudden having to be royal was hilarious. And I loved that.
James Brolin as the Princess Diaries, which was hysterical.
Yeah, I agree. And so, she gets the offer to lead the choir, basically permanently, doing after school performances and after school programs by one of the ladies. And so she's excited about that. And then we find out that Eddie and Zoe have set a date. They're going to get married in a year, which again was kind of like a long time.
Yeah.
For Hallmark. That was different. And it's kind of the same in Once Upon a Prince, where the prince is doing his like angry gardening, and then the mom sees it and she's like, he's so unhappy. I love that. And in here, like, the sad prince, like, he was so sad.
He was so mopey.
Yeah. And then when Whippy sees her in the kitchen delivering the pastries or whatever, and he's like, didn't you see my text? She's downstairs in the kitchen. We aren't. Thanks. And that was really fun.
That's when he goes down there. He's like throwing on his clothes and his shirt. And the slippers are what cracked me up, though. He's like wearing really nice dress pants and a belt and everything, but with some of those white hotel slippers.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I thought it was a little over the top when she's like, a bird and a fish may fall in love, but where will they live? And I'm like, oh my gosh. This is very...
the logistics that you can figure out,
Yeah. He looks so sad. And then we find out that Adriana has another relationship, so she doesn't want to go through with it. And that was a sweet scene. I like that they didn't make her like evil.
I was worried they were going to make her evil because when he was supposed to be giving her a tour and he tried to show her the Christmas shop, the windows that he had, done earlier. And she was like, oh, shopping. And she just ran in the store ready to shop. I was like, oh, do not make the shopaholic mean, please. But I was kind of worried that they were going to make her, try and make her seem shallow or evil. But no, I was glad that they didn't do that. I don't like it when that's the resolution for the royal wedding thing.
I agree. Yeah, it can be fun when in order to do it that way, you really have to lean into the camp and make it kind of like a Meredith Blake kind of over the top evil performance. That's fun. Yeah. But when it's just like someone petty and I don't know.
Do it hard. Kind of like we did in Unleashing Mr. Darcy with
That's true.
She was super evil.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. She's like suing her and everything, making her lose her job. But yeah, and they talk about his parents say that they've been in love for 55 years. They were set up, love found a way, but that's not what he wants. And they find out, okay, well, the king is not actually retiring. And yeah, there's this whole scene with him trying to get to the wishing tree. And I guess I don't know why he couldn't take the subway like Whitby. That's what I thought they were leading up to with him taking the subway.
Yeah.
But instead he buys a scooter from a guy, takes a scooter all the way to Queens.
Whatever his watch is. Yeah.
That would be a long scooter ride.
I was thinking that same thing. I was like, man, that scooter must have booked. Like he get there in time. But he did. And he looked like fresh as a daisy when he got there. He wasn't like windburned or anything.
Yeah. And they put the piano ornament on the tree. They make the wish. She makes a wish and says, you mean everything to me. You are my wish. That was so cute.
It was. I mean, that ending got me. It was so sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they kiss and he says, did that answer your question? And so then they kiss again. We get double kisses.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this just goes to show that I think anything with good writing can work, like tropes that you think, oh, I've seen this so many times. And then you see it with good writing and you're like, wow, that works. That's a classic for a reason. I think that's the case here.
Tropes are tropes for a reason. And it's because, they tap into something universal that everyone loves, and if you can do a beloved trope or an older trope with a new twist or make it feel fresh. I mean, you're right. That's a sign of really good writing. Because in a lot of those tropes a lot of times. So.
And this movie had 3 writers. Stephen Peterman, Gary Danzig, and Lee Friedlander did some of the writing. And so it sounds like it had a lot of people involved, but I thought it worked really well.
Because it had the writer's name and then it said based on a teleplay by such and such. So I thought, well, that's interesting because it made me wonder how much they changed the original teleplay.
Because and then Marcus Flanagan based on teleplay by it had four writers actually. Yeah. 4 writers on this. So yeah, it sounds like this went through a lot of revisions.
I was like, this was probably just a regular story, and then they changed it all to Queens.
Queens, yeah.
Like wondering how much or what exactly they changed. So.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I'll have to ask Lee because she's been on the podcast a couple times. I know her pretty well, so I'll have to ask her. But they had great chemistry, so it's also a question of casting and writing that makes something like this work.
For sure. And back to the writing. I mean, sometimes when it's based on a teleplay like that, like someone wrote the teleplay and then when Hallmark wanted revisions, they were busy on another project. So they have to bring someone else in to do the changes. Right, so it's not necessarily that they overhauled it, but
right.
Yeah, but you're right. The chemistry and the cast for sure. And like we said, these two just really matched together.
Yeah, I mean, I'd watch another one of this. I think you could do a wedding movie for them. I think that would be really fun. I'd watch that.
Cake? I mean, she worked at a bakery. I want to see the wedding cake.
Yeah. You know what they could do is they could do a dual wedding movie and have Zoe and what was it, Eddie So you can have Zoe and Eddie's wedding and also have the prince and the princess and wedding. That would be fun.
Yes, and they could be like, maids of honor or whatever in each other's. That would be so cute.
Yeah, there you go. You should tell them folks at Hallmark.
I'll get right on that. I have them on speed dial.
Yes. You make me executive producer.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Yes. And we got to see our leading man dressed as Santa, which was fun.
Yes. Adorable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I still think the overall concert, I was like, that just sounds weird. Him like playing like that with just little kids singing. I almost felt like they needed to have him have a couple numbers and then the kids have their own numbers because it was like didn't fit.
It was a little weird. And the kids made a lot while they were singing like this.
Yeah, that's true.
And I was like, is that going to mess up their singing?
Yeah, this is like Glee all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But yeah, I give this a pretty high score. I was thoroughly entertained by it. I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 crowns.
I would give it a 4 out of 5 crowns as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about a Godwink Christmas meant for a miracle, right?
Yes. Miracle of love, right?
Miracle of love. Yes. Let's talk about a Godwink Christmas, Miracle of Love. And so this is the 4th Godwink movie, I believe. I think.
Well, this is time for me to make a confession. This is the first Godwink movie that I have watched. I know I feel terrible because I'm a major Hallmark fan, but Christmas, there's so many movies. So I haven't watched every single one from every single year. And somehow I just never got on the Godwink train until this year when I watched this one. So I'm not sure. I think it is the 4th or 5th. There seems like there's been a lot.
Yeah, there's been, I believe, 4. Last year's was my least favorite Hallmark movie of the year.
Oh, wow.
The Godwink. It was so weak, the Godwink. I mean, it was literally just 2 people happen to live near each other. I'm like, that is not, I mean, I think God's hand is in all things, but like, it's just you need stronger if you're going to build a whole movie on a miracle. And I did think that at least this one, compared to the other 3, I think this one actually had like a genuine miracle in it, which I appreciated.
For sure. Okay. Maybe it was good that I haven't seen the other Godwinks because I did not know what to expect at all, except I knew what a Godwink was. It's like, where it's just a tiny everyday miracle or, big miracle. Yeah. Something that some people might chalk up to coincidence, but you believe it's God winking at you and, his hand is in it.
Yeah. So, in my church, we sometimes call them tender mercies. Like a tender mercy of God. And this, is kind of a Godwink. We had Squire and Louise Rushnell, who created Godwink, on the podcast, and they were really funny. They were great. Yeah. I didn't know what to expect, if they would be kind of stuffy, but no, they were really funny and really fun to be with. And I still think that they could do better as far as making the films more faith-centric than they actually are. I feel like they're trying to sort of straddle this middle ground of like appeal to faith-based audiences, but then also not like ostracize non-faith-based audiences. But I feel like with 45 movies, you could have one movie that's like overtly faith-based, right? And like this one, they actually did, I think, have her pray one time, but in most of the other movies, like, it's just so not a religious film. And I just think like it makes them feel very diluted to me. And why not just make one thing that's outright, it's Christmas, so you can have a Christian story, like one. And if people don't want to watch it, they don't have to watch it. Like, that's fine to me. Anyway, but this one was more.
I thought it. I mean, I have really
miracle.
Appreciated the faith, the faith that was in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen the others, so I'm not sure. But I was like, I really liked that. I was like, well, this is great because it's Christmas. It is good to have one.
Yeah. Especially the last half of the movie. I thought his accident forward was the best part of the movie, like as far as the storytelling.
For sure. But I mean, even before that though, they had the Advent wreath, and every time they lit a candle, they talked about what it represented, So, and I liked that part of it. And the main character had wanted to be a pastor and it didn't work out. And so I don't know. I from the very beginning, I was like, oh, I like this because there's some faith in this Christmas movie.
Yeah. And I think that if they continue to do these Godwink movies, they should do even more, and they should make it even more. But this felt, like I said, the most out of, like, last time, literally the only thing that was Godwinky was them living near each other. And I'm like, that does not count. That's every couple who's ever gotten together. Like, what?
I definitely had more of a Godwink with the liver thing, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But I do have to ask a question because I watched the whole movie and then I got to the end and they talked about the real couple. And I was like, what? So are all the Godwink movies true stories like that?
Yes.
I loved that. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, they're all true stories. They're all based on Squire Rushnell's books that he has, which are these, it's kind of like Chicken Soup for the Soul.
I've seen the books, but I didn't realize the movies were real. So represent real stories.
Yeah, so they're based on real stories. I don't know how fast and loose with the details they are, but yeah, no, they are all, each one at the end has that kind of.
Loved that.
Yeah. And so the summary is: brought together by community service, Eric and Joy find new purpose at Christmas as they help a family rebuild their home. Coincidences and a medical miracle lead them to believe in destiny. So it stars Caparel and Alberto Frezza is the lead. And I thought they had really good chemistry. I liked the pairing a lot.
Yes. Right off the bat, I did. Now, they did seem super young, which I think they were. They just seemed really young and sweet, which I really liked. And they did have really good chemistry. And I really liked the movie. It was so different. I don't know. Since we have so many different Hallmark movies, I really like that, especially like this year, they're not all the same, they're all a lot different. And, just they're talking about their age makes me think how much I loved the Terry Hatcher movie.
Me too.
Oh my gosh. That's one
my favorite of the season.
Favorites, because first of all, it was great to see them together again after Desperate Housewives. I was like, oh, it's like 1990 something all over again, or 2000 or whatever that was. But I loved that show because it was like they were, middle-aged, having this romance. And I just love that. I hope that Hallmark continues to do more of that. But I did really like, even though these characters did seem really young, which they were, I really liked them. And I liked the couple that ran the camp or whatever, the community service thing that they were volunteering for. They were the older, more experienced couple.
Yeah, so they did seem younger, just finished college. So that was nice. And I think they are trying to sort of win over younger demographics in these movies. That's such a prime advertising group is the 18 to 24 demographic. But I have to say, real quick aside, so after I gave basically a perfect score to Kiss Before Christmas, because I thought it was, for what it was trying to be, it was so good. Anyway, next day we get an email from James Denton himself. Yeah. And he said, just wanted to thank you for the generous review, especially Rachel. It's so smart to judge a movie based on what it is set out to do and whether it delivered that. Our little movie was clearly not perfect, but you three were very fair and open-minded. And as a producer, I really appreciate it. Isn't that so cool?
That is so amazing. I love that you just have that like available, like it's printed out and taped to your computer right now.
Yes, you better believe it.
That's awesome.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, and I didn't when it came out, I didn't watch it right away. I don't know what I had going on, but I had to record it, and I just watched it, last weekend. And I think on a Sunday morning, I just put it in and watched it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so good!"
Yeah, and they've done so many of those like Family Man type stories, but this was the best because he didn't. Because most of the time, they wake up the next day, they all of a sudden have this family, and what if you've taken this choice to be in a family? Yeah. Problem with that is that you get invested in a family that doesn't exist, right? Yes. The relationship doesn't exist, the kids don't exist. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like, it makes it hard to like tell the story and to get invested in the story. Whereas in this case, he lost the family.
Yeah, it was Family Man in reverse.
Yes, which was so much better.
I thought it was way more effective.
Yeah.
And I thought it was way more effective. It was like Family Man in reverse. Because especially at Christmas, who hasn't had those thoughts? Like, if only, and oh my gosh.
Sure. Yeah. And then you bring Mary Lou Henner in. I mean,
yeah,
perfect.
And when he was having the heart-to-hearts with his coffee maker, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I love the coffee maker. That was so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so good. Yeah. But in this movie, the one thing that I don't like, and I guess, I don't know, it's hard when maybe you're telling a true story, but I wish that they didn't have her have a boyfriend.
The love triangle.
Yeah. I didn't love that.
No one likes those. Like that. I don't think that, most viewers or readers don't love that, because you end up feeling bad for the boyfriend who clearly did not see it coming. But we did, obviously the minute he showed her the picture of the house and she was like, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Gonna bite the dust.
Yeah, it just makes it kind of a downer, and you've got so much other heavy stuff in this movie.
There's a lot of heavy
really stuff. Didn't need it. If that actually happened and she, dumped the boyfriend on Christmas Eve, oh my gosh. And
yeah,
I think you just leave it out. Like it wasn't necessary at all to the story. And I don't know. I didn't love that whole plot line.
If I have I think in both my Hallmark books, the heroine breaks up with her boyfriend, but I have it really early on.
Yeah.
And there's always a scene later in the book where there's a resolution where the guy's like, you know what, you were right, blah, blah. I always want to make sure everyone knows that everyone's good,
Yeah. Like
but they had what happened to that poor guy. I
know. Yeah. And then they had it in 5 more minutes, but that one was terrible. In my opinion, they handled that very terribly in that movie. This was better than that, at least, but I don't know. I didn't like that whole plot. I didn't care for it.
Well, I think too, because, the Hallmark world, we like it's kind of an idealized version of the world, where people are kind and care about each other, and it just doesn't seem that kind to have a dump your boyfriend on Christmas Eve scene and then we never see the guy again,
Exactly. And it's like you want to have his story next because you want him to end up happy.
We know what his tragic backstory is now. He got dumped on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like in Trading Christmas, which is one of my favorites, Tom Cavanagh, he is just so sad, still, just riddled with bitterness about the fact that he was dumped on Christmas Eve by his girlfriend, his fiance. And I'm like, see, you're creating mini Tom Cavanagh.
Yeah, it should be a spinoff of this movie.
Yeah, exactly. So she has thought about becoming a traveling nurse because that's what her mother did. Her mother's passed away. And she decides she comes across this program, which is kind of like a Habitat for Humanity kind of program type thing.
Yeah. Mixed with vocation type stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was very Habitat of Humanity-ish. Yeah.
And this is in Oshkosh, which is a great name for a place. Oshkosh. And so she goes to spend basically like 6 weeks, I think, doing this Habitat for Humanity thing. And he goes as well. And he ends up being assigned to kind of write for their community newsletter for this place.
which somehow gets his articles get picked up by the AP and are all over the United States from a newsletter. But okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Hallmark and journalism and realism do not go hand in hand.
Right. Good for him. But that's a really big Godwink.
Nelson Wong, this is a rare, he's not playing Kenny Kwan. Yeah. And in this one, he has a different name, but he's running the program. And so he kind of orchestrates all the Godwinks. And I do think it was kind of annoying. Every time there's a Godwink, they have that little sound. Yeah. It's like, we got it. You don't need to tell us.
Yeah.
We're not stupid. But yeah, so he helps kind of run the program, and he sees their chemistry and he talks to them, and he was fun in this. And we find out she does not like surprises. So she's probably the wrong person to be getting a bunch of Godwinks.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not good.
No. And so then she said patients don't care about how much you know until they see how much you care. And I don't know if I really agree with that. Like, I want my doctors to know a lot. Like, yeah. That's more important than how much they care about me. I want them to be like, I don't want them to be rude, but I want them to know a lot. That's the most important.
Agreed.
The doctor. And I wrote in.
Like leaving room for a minute and looking stuff up, and coming back.
It's like the whole Seinfeld skit that he does where he's like, I don't know why they have that room in the back. They're looking things up. He's like, the waiting room. There's no other options. It's the name of the room. That's what you have to do is wait. You're looking around. Oh, I don't want to get what he has, Family that's going to get the house that had the house was on fire, and they lost everything, and the little boy, especially, I think his name was Charlie, is very upset and difficult.
And the mom was pregnant, like way pregnant.
Right. Yeah. And so then they're working on the house, and they also, as they're painting, they write what they call hidden blessings on the wall. And they actually end up saving some of Joy's hidden blessings and put those in the house. And they turns out they actually lived in the same town in Columbus. So that's when we get a little ding, ding, ding. Yeah. In Ohio when they were 6. So and he's going to help with the snowplow, and then he ends up getting run over by the snowplow.
Heavy duty for Hallmark. Yeah. It was like, did he just get run over? I mean, it was very dramatic.
Yeah. And I think it honestly could have just been, the movie could have just been from that point onward. Because I just felt like that was the strength of the movie from there onward. Because it felt like, oh, this is actually a miracle, and this is actually like tense, and I don't know.
That happened an hour and a half into the movie. I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
after he got run over, so it was near the end, the third act for sure.
Yeah, and I think that they could have moved that forward. I don't know. It just felt kind of like 2 episodes of Touched by an Angel or something like that,
Well, when you were describing having the faith in it, where they want to have faith in it, but still appeal to the people who wouldn't be turned off by it, I was thinking the same thing. It was like Touched by an Angel type.
I liked the line where she says that I had nothing in common with my mother, but we looked at the world through the same window. I thought that was a good little bit of writing there.
That's a nice line.
Yeah. And then she prescribes the little girl hamburgers and chocolate.
Oh yeah, the doctor does.
The doctor.
A chocolate bar every night. I was like, what doctor is that? Sign me up.
Yeah. Like, I get that she needs to eat more iron and stuff, but you probably could come up with something a little more healthy than hamburgers and chocolate
every night. I had a doctor's appointment this morning, and spoiler alert, that was not a prescription that I received, and I would have loved it.
Yeah, exactly. And then when they reveal the house to the family, they made this whole gamer room, which was very nice. That looked fun. And then the nursery where they were able to find the photos online for them. That was very sweet.
And the little boy got a little stuffed animal for his sister.
Yeah. Little stuffed lion. And so then, they say this has been the best 2 weeks of my life. Camp is over. We're not kids anymore. Yeah. So they separate. And then the head of...
They're about to kiss and she blurts out, "Oh, I have a boyfriend."
I know. Yeah, that was a downer.
Like, whoa. Yeah.
Yeah, I did like their dance.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. And then she's talking to her dad with the old photo of her mom, and he says, "Eric's matches who I am right now. Danny is in my past," which was like, oh, that sucks for Danny.
And there was that scene when we keep talking about poor Danny, because I do feel bad for him. And that house he was renovating was beautiful. But there was this scene where she hasn't even been there that long. I think she's only been there for like 2 weeks at the camp, but it was only like 10 minutes in movie time. And he calls to talk to her. And when they're getting off the phone, he's like, "I love you." And she's like, "Yeah, bye." And because the other guy is standing right there. But I'm just like, wow, that was not good.
No, it was.
Danny was like looking at the phone. And I thought, oh, this poor guy.
So she finally breaks up with Danny. It was brutal. I didn't like it. It was tough. And then that's when the plow, the truck goes over Eric. She's coming back into town. He's going to pick her up. So she's so excited. And it goes over. And he has to be rushed to the emergency room. And so then they're praying for a miracle. And one of the Godwinks is the doctor. He had taken a specific seminar. He was going to leave early. Then he decided to stay for one more seminar. It happened to be on the treatment that then he ended up being able to do for Eric. And so if he hadn't have gone to that seminar, he wouldn't have known what to do. So that was a pretty good Godwink. Like I said, most of the time in these movies, the Godwinks are very thin, like just not, really specific. God has his hand in all of our lives. I do believe that. But like, he also lets us make our own choices and does, and he's there for us, in my view. Not every single thing in our lives is kind of a Godwink. Just living next to people.
Maybe it is, but then maybe it's not worthy of making an entire film about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought that the doctor taking the seminar, that was a pretty good one. That was worthy of the ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. And there was a whole lot of drama in all the last part of it flew by because
I agree.
On and we were really invested in it at that point.
Yeah, and she gives her necklace, and like literally as soon as she leaves, all of a sudden his stats like ding, go way down. Yeah. You're like, oh no.
I know.
Like I doubt it was that dramatic in real life, but it was effective for the film.
Yeah, it was effective. Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because Kat Burrell, her part on Good Witch for Hallmark Channel is also named Joy, and then she's in this movie, her first movie for Hallmark, also named Joy. I thought that was kind of fun. And so she says, I love him and I need him to be okay. And she says to God, she actually prays in this movie, which I appreciate. She says, if you weren't winking to me and I was just seeing what I wanted to see, I'll walk away.
I loved that part.
Yeah, because she thinks that she's the one that caused him to, like, it's like a negative Godwink.
She called to say, I'm on my way back, because I'm sure she was going to tell him I dumped my boyfriend and we can be together now. And so he's rushing out to get her, when it happens.
Yeah, and she says goodbye, and the stats, just the vitals, like go down immediately. I'm like, oh no. And usually you don't have this kind of melodrama in Hallmark movies, which I actually enjoy melodrama. I like, like soap operas and that kind of, like, when it's done right, it can be done bad. But this, I think, had sort of a good amount of melodrama. And so he, then his heart goes back up, his vitals go back up when Joy is there. And the parents are all like, well, we're the family, go away. I'm like, oh, that was mean.
Parents were pretty hostile.
Yeah, they were.
I was like, this is kind of harsh.
Yeah, I'm like, you're killing your son. What are you doing?
Exactly.
And clear out except for Joy. So she's there and he gets better. And so then he's offered the job in New York City doing monthly column, human interest column. And but he decides, no, I like doing the stories in Oshkosh. And if only journalism were so simple these days, sadly.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to stay here and write this newsletter in Oshkosh.
Yeah. How things have changed since whenever that's happened. But everyone's there, including Joy's dad. And then they light the last Advent candle, which is what they've been doing throughout the movie, is lighting the Advent candles. And so that was sweet. And I mean, I gave this a Cole in the preview. I was not looking forward to it because the last one was not very good. This was way better than that. And genuinely, I enjoyed it. I thought they had good chemistry and there was enough actual miracles. I still think that they could lean into it even more than this, but this was a step in the right direction, in my opinion. So I'm going to give this a 3.5 crowns out of 5.
I would be somewhere around that same. I'm going to say 3.2. I mean, I'm torn because the last part of it was so much better than the first part.
Yeah, I agree. And like the whole thing with the boyfriend was just a bummer. So that it loses some points because of that. It would have been way better if she was just single.
She should. She didn't even need to have a boyfriend. I was gonna say she should have broken up with him, before she left. But she really didn't need one, and they could have orchestrated something different for the black moment, before she left. That did seem unnecessarily mean. Yeah, for a Christmas movie, especially.
Yeah. It was because he wasn't like interested in someone else or like lost in. He was like there and ready to buy a house for her and like
on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, it was tough. I was like, oh, poor Danny. I feel so sad. Yeah. But so that it does lose some points there, but I'd give it, I think, a 3.5.
Yeah. I'd give it 3.5, 3.25, 3 and part of this crown.
And I would like to see this pairing again. Maybe it's something lighter. I think that they could definitely do it. And I thought they had really good chemistry. I'd never seen a person playing Eric. I'd never seen him before. And I thought he was really good.
Oh yeah, they both were for sure.
So very good. Well, we did it. Let us know if you're listening, what you thought of these two movies. We would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. Please let us know. And you can find links to Teri's books in the description. But where can they find you on social media and all that fun stuff?
Okay. Well, my website is teriwilson.net, TeriWilson.net, and it has links to everywhere that I am. I'm Teri Wilson Author without an O on Twitter. I'm Teri Wilson Author with the O on Instagram, and I'm Teri Wilson Author on Facebook.
Great. And we'll have all that in the description. So definitely check it out. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please take a look at that. And we are doing the Sister Swap movies together with the girls Mel and Dory from All the Feels. We're going to be talking about them. So don't think we've forgotten them. They're coming. And we talked about on Tuesday, we talked about A Dickens of a Holiday with Alonso Duralde. So we're covering this weekend's movies a little bit divided. So be sure you check that out. And you can follow us at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews, 5 stars. It really helps us out a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group and merch store. This week on Thursday night, we are having our watch along with David Weaver, where we are watching Christmas Town. It's going to be super fun. You get all the behind the scenes details. Any tier level can join in. So please take a look at that. And thanks so much, Teri, for coming on and doing this. It was really fun. And we'll talk to you all later. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.